Liberal Senator Dave Sharma is with us now. Dave, how are you feeling?
Well, look, it was a pretty tough loss. I'm still here by virtue of the fact I wasn't on the ballot this time, but I feel a lot for a lot of my colleagues, quite promising people who lost their seats. The loss was historic, though. I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. The worst result for us since we were formed as a party in 1944. We're reduced to something around 40 seats.
So what went wrong? What went so badly wrong?
I don't think you can't identify a single issue here, but it was pretty comprehensive. But I would say, in short, we clearly did not appeal to, if you want to call it middle Australia or the quiet Australians or the median Australian. I mean, we went backwards nearly everywhere. We've been largely evicted from the cities. We're nowhere to be seen in Tasmania. In Sydney, we hold, I think, about 4 seats, possibly 5. In Melbourne, we're reduced to 1 or 2 on the outer suburbs. I mean, 2/3 of Australians live in our major cities. We cannot expect to be a mainstream political movement, a party of government, unless we are commanding the support or attention or at least the interest of those people.
Especially because the Nats do the regions. So
exactly.
What's the point of the Libs if they're not doing that, or the cities? If it were one result, you could go, well, it's a freak result. But it's actually 2 in a row now. There was the teal wave in the first year. You yourself were a victim of that. And then, as you mentioned, it's kind of been cleared from the cities. I suppose the question I would ask you as a Liberal, where is Liberal heartland now?
I think that's a question that will have to be grappled with. I mean, I don't know. To me, traditionally, Liberal heartland has been the forgotten Australians of Robert Menzies, the battlers of the Howard era, maybe the quiet Australians of Scott Morrison, which would tend to be people who... Look, to me, we are the party of social mobility. We are the party that allows people to realise their dreams, get a good education for their children, move up the economic and wealth and social ladders, give better opportunities to their children than they had, are able to buy a home, afford a home, get good health care. That's our dream. Those are the sorts of Australians we want to look after. We've never been a class-based party. We don't assume to be, and we've never been a party that's meant to be for white-collar workers or blue-collar workers or tertiary-educated people or non-tertiary. We've always sought to create a very broad church and govern for all Australians. That's what I think we need to get back to. But the truth is, where we've been left, sort of geographically, demographically, and elsewhere in Australia, is a rump of Australia. It's not the full embodiment of Australia.
Whenever I'm searching for answers, I check in with Gina Reinhart. She often has some great stuff. She has suggested that you guys maybe embrace more of a Trumpian style of politics or move into the kind of the Trump theory of politics. What do you think about that?
I don't agree. I don't think the United States is certainly in this respect, but in many others, comparable to Australia. And that's someone who's lived and worked professionally in the United States for 3 or 4 years. I think Australians, firstly, we have a compulsory voting system. We don't have an optional voting system, which creates different political dynamics. But Australia is quite a centrist and pragmatic nation. We look for people to solve their problems, not create problems or create divisions. We look for people that promote harmony and provide opportunity and generally speaking, try and keep politics out of their lives as much as possible, except on ballot day. America and the Trump experiment is a sort of vastly different beast.
But to Waleed's point, I mean, where is the heartland now? I mean, the teal movement is a massive problem for the Liberals. I mean, you may be lucky and get up in Kooyong and maybe even in Goldstein. But those people... we're in the middle of a cost of living crisis. We've got a housing crisis, and you still couldn't win.
Yeah, look, I think the warning signs were there in 2022, as Waleed mentioned. There were sort of alarm bells ringing. That
was no one listening.
I think, I don't know, but I don't think the lessons were learnt. I think it was too difficult to address them, or it was convenient to move on, or the political dynamics changed, or there was a by-election looming, or there was the referendum on the voice, and the immediate, took priority over the important. But, we lost seats in 2022 that we'd never lost before, right? That should have said, well, hang on, something's up in
and you haven't
your
got them all
heartland.
back. That's the point.
We haven't got them back, and we haven't won any offsetting gains. I mean, there was some people who had a theory that there was some broad political realignment that was happening in Australia, and what we lost in inner metropolitan areas we'd pick up in outer metropolitan areas. Well, that hasn't happened.
Well, before we let you go, retiring Senator Linda Reynolds, she has been scathing of the Liberals, saying that they're too male-centric. Does that need to be addressed?
I think a lot of things need to be addressed, and I think that's one of them. I don't think we can say that our problems are confined to sort of, you know, gender parity or the culture of the workplace alone, though. You know, and I do think...
But the work from home thing was a pretty terrible own goal.
I think that did not land well, and we withdrew it. But I think, you know, people like to say and have this argument, you know, where do you move on the ideological spectrum? To me, it's just about being modern, and maybe that's an ideological position, but recognising the reality of people who work flexibly, two-income families, both parts of a couple with a career, the pressures and challenges, and making sure that we are articulating our values into policies that address those people's concerns and priorities.
We didn't hear more from you during the campaign. That might have helped.
Lots of commentary about perhaps we'll see a third term from Albo, given the state of the Liberals at the moment.
Look, I'd say, I mean, I'm not going to be boosterish about our chances, but I'd say the electorate is more volatile in Australia than I think we've ever seen it, which means things that look certain, you know, the day after election look quite different 2.5 years hence.
A lot of soul searching to happen. Senator Dave Sharma, appreciate your time.
Thanks so much.